Hello and welcome to Stampscaping 101. I'm going to do a scene featuring these two different stamps here. One of them's the Oak Row and this one's the Oaks and Mist. I haven't used them for a while, or not that I can remember at least, and I wanted to try a scene out with it that I did a while back and haven't done it again in quite a few years. I wanted to do a scene that's kind of evocative, you know, one that's kind of where it shows these oaks, maybe on a hillside, and some dramatic mist if I can. I just inked this up with black, and I'll tell you what, let me go in with some additional Prussian blue just for some variation. I'm kind of putting it on the tops of some of these trees in the background here. I never know exactly how it's going to look until I stamp it out, because it just depends on how wet each pad is. If you use a really wet black and a kind of a relatively dry Prussian blue, well, the Prussian blue is not going to be very dark because, you know, the Prussian blues could be more, you know, absorbing the ink off of the stamp than anything, but we'll see. I just went with this manganese blue right here. It's Marvy brush marker number 36. One of my favorite blues of any brand. Just they don't make it in pad form, unfortunately, so I have to use the pen form. And I usually don't use it kind of for that reason, but I don't know, I had a bunch of them and I thought I might as well use them. I'm going to put this at an angle. So let me do that. In the previous lesson, called Flurry, for the most part that's blue. It has a little bit of variation in there, but not too much. I'll try to put a little bit more blue on there next. Actually, this pad has just really been re-inked, so it's not really I can't really see too much blue on there, just a touch. I don't know, it's not so flat looking. There's some little bit of variation here and there. With this manganese blue, I'm going to try to pull off a little bit more. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of rolling this tip here on here a little bit. And yes, it does pick up a lot of the black onto the pen nib, but what I do is I just kind of roll it like that. And pretty soon, you know, it gets back to its pure form. Probably does stain the tip a little bit, but that's the way I tend to use these pens, so it's, you know, I'm not trying to keep it, you know, absolutely pristine. You can also take a towel like this and just wipe a lot of that ink off, and, you know, you're looking at a reasonably clean pen. It's clean enough for me, actually. Okay, I'm going into this stamp, and I'm wiping off some of the bottom of it so it transitions gracefully into kind of a more, kind of a softer base, you know, the base of the trees down here, and that's where I'm going to have it kind of transitioning into mist. A little bit more blue in there, it kind of looks a little bit more turquoise to me. If that can be seen or not, I don't know. Okay, let's go with the Oaks and Mist. Let's do this with this one. This black is fairly wet, so it's leaving a lot of ink on there. Let's just go right over the top of it with some of this light blue. And I don't know, some of you might think I'm crazy for using these pens and pads that way, but I don't know, that's just the way I tend to use the inks. I don't worry about it too much. I have the re-inkers and I can wipe that off too. You know, like I said, I just wipe the pen like that. And it's fine. Okay, let's take off some of this ink off the bottom. I'm going to take off a pretty decent amount. So it's almost kind of dry down here and wet up there. Okay, and let's go for a background hill full of trees. So, looks pretty good. Lighter background, darker foreground, transitions through depth. And let's see if I can get another impression without really re-inking it. Not bad. They call it huffing. It's when you take the stamp and you kind of breathe hot air onto it, and I don't know if that term's even still around anymore, but you know, you might be able to get another impression. It's a lighter impression, yes, but you know, saves you from having to re-ink it again. Okay. Let's see here. Let's start inking up the scene here. Like I said, I want it kind of, you know, nice evocative look to it. Showing some mist. This is some ocean aqua seashells, now called Adirondack Lights Aqua. And let's see here. I should have cleaned my tips off here before I started this video. This one looks like it's fairly clean. Stylus tools like this, you just pop out the tip like that. I usually just take a real wet, damp paper towel and I dab it into it to clean them off. Pop them in. Let me see, there might be a little bit of green on here. Okay, impromptu stylus tip cleaning lesson right here. Just take it like that and squeeze it in there. And there's a little bit of green around on the perimeter, but not too bad. Okay. Alright, clean enough. Go into your pad, or I can also just use this re-inker fluid. I could put it direct or put it on the, you know, pad or something like that. Lid and sop it up. Okay, remember, lay down your base layers. Preferably, you know, if you have kind of a pad that has a somewhat of a kind of a thicker consistency. Ranger Industries are really great for that. You know, whether it's the Distress Inks, Adirondacks, Adirondack Lights, or some of the older naming conventions like Seashells and Sea Brights. Mementos have a really good thick consistency, so it blends really nicely. Oscillating my light, I have light, kind of dark light, you know, dark light. If you want to know what I mean by that, there's some other lessons where I talk about kind of lighting, you know, varying the value scheme on a scene for kind of a richer surface than instead of just toning everything out. Moving up in my color scheme, let's move into a salvia blue, which is a fairly light blue. Retaining my light source in a scene. In this case, it's not really something within the scene itself, it's more kind of representational of light coming from above and landing on the landscape somewhere. I did this other lesson called spotlighting, where I kind of have a little bit of a kind of a lighter area within the card, and you know, some kind of subject matter in the scene. doesn't have to be subject matter. It could just be an area. You have light hitting, you know, kind of dramatic light, illuminating something or an area within a landscape, and that kind of directs the viewer of your piece to wherever you want it to go. They'll look at the lighter areas, they'll be drawn to the lighter areas within a scene. Much like a lighting director in a stage production of anything. That's what you're kind of doing in here. I'm not necessarily trying to reproduce a photograph or something like that, although you could, you know, use that approach. But again, I see these more as kind of like little stages. You know, these are worlds unto them, you know, worlds unto themselves, complete and you know, not really lacking for anything, you know, not part of a greater whole, or not needing a greater whole. Alright. And this scene is, of course, it's all in blue tones, blue to be cool in terms of my temperature scheme. You could start getting warm, you know, if you move into like a turquoise or something like that. And I was thinking maybe that might be a nice idea, is to kind of add an element of warmth in here. But I tell you what, while we're on our blues, why don't we continue to go through our blue color scheme. That was the number 10 light blue. This is the number 3, just called blue from Marvy. Okay. I'm always kind of wiping with my dark blue. Okay, keeping in an area. I'm not doing this. A lot of times people go like this. They want to get the whole thing done, so they go da 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 da. Okay. It doesn't come out as smooth that way. What you want to do is you kind of want to work an area and get those transitions of wet to dry. If you're just going like this, you know, you're really not taking advantage of you know, the process of you know, a wet to dry applicator giving you the transition of dark to light. So what I do is I'm working a small area right here, okay, and then I'm staying there. My tip is getting dry, and I'm moving that more towards the center. After I've achieved that transition in there, I re-ink, and I start in a different area, like that. So kind of, you know, utilize the, you know, the properties of a wet to dry tool to your advantage, and it just makes it so much easier. So I kind of work this little area right here. I can see another one, maybe another one right here, just depending on the size of the applicator. Okay. All right. Blue tones. All right. You want to see something transition here? All right. Let's take this tip, and this is how I clean it off like that. I just sprayed into that, and you see this tip is, you know, it's getting fairly clean. I have my finger over that end part right there. I don't want to hold it up here and just start pressing in, otherwise it'll snap off at the arm after, you know, some time. So give it some support down low like that. Okay. You can also just put them underneath a, you know, a sink or something like that and run some water. You know, that can also work. Okay. Cool tones in here. Let's try to move in and into some warmer tones. Let's hear some different greens. It's not something I planned out in the beginning, but yeah, kind of as it started developing, I thought, well, maybe we can go for some little bit of temperature change in there. Okay. interesting. Not too bad. Shall we kind of get a little bit more gutsy and go with something bright? Maybe. Let's give it a try. Okay, try it on the outside edge and see if you like it. Kind of work it in slowly. Okay, I'm not taking this and just going dab right in the middle with it. Okay, starting in the darker areas and then kind of adding more if I like what I see. And it's kind of creating a nice little glow. And glowing light right there. It's as if you took a warm light and put it into the scene. Okay, here's a number 11 light green. Previous one was yellow green. One before that was pale green. Okay. It's really kind of changing the spirit of the scene, isn't it? By adding that warmth, the temperature transition into the color scheme that we're working on. Okay, now that by itself, to me, looks kind of funny, so I'm going back to dark blue and adding some more of that in there. I've left the green in here, so now that when I'm applying that dark blue, some of that ink is physically blending right on the tip here. So it's probably more of like a dark turquoise color that I'm applying into the scene, unlike before when I used the number 3 blue, and it was going on as more of a pure, just dark blue, kind of a navy-ish blue. A little bit lighter than navy, but kind of in that spirit. Okay, but now over the top of green it looks like something quite different. Okay, another thing I was going to do is, let's see, I'm looking for my stamp, here we go. Let's add in a little bit of texture to the scene. This is a Sedge filler, and this is the number 3 blue. Number 3 blue. I'm stamping into the scene. Just giving it a little bit of an extra added texture. Okay, now that that's in there, let's blend that in a little bit more. Okay. All right. Let's try and get this little doe stamped in there. I'll do it in black. Okay, now if anyone has watched some of the previous videos, usually when I have like a figure and I'm having him standing in something, water, grass, whatever, if I just stamp it as is, it would be as if it's standing right on top of the grass. But if I just kind of wipe off the feet a little bit, however much I wipe off will represent how deep into that surface the figure is standing. So when it comes to something like this, I put this little doe, it's standing in the grass, you know, where you can't really see its feet, and I think that just looks a little bit better than without it. Okay. let's put us as a viewer. And it's about 3 impressions. Standing amongst the grass, very close to us, like maybe it puts us as a viewer. I guess it would probably have us kind of laying down in the grass if the grass is that large and tall, looking off into the that hillside, and or we can kind of observe the doe. Let's see. Let's grab some of our color box pigment ink, white, and I don't know where this ink pad came from, but it looks like it's brand new. I didn't know I had any brand new pads. So I'm kind of dabbing this off because I don't want a big glob of the ink. You know, it's kind of easier working with one that's a little bit more used. Okay, I dab some, easy enough to dab some of it off. Okay, and kind of at the base of some of these trees, let's start applying some of the paint and do it very incrementally. I had too much down there, so I kind of flipped the tip around, so I kind of spread that out a little bit. But people have troubles with this type of process right here, and almost certainly, from what I've seen, it's usually just that they're trying to apply the ink too quickly and too thick of a layer. You know, what it looks like is, you know, it looks like that, you know, big blobs of ink. You don't want to do it like that. You just want to kind of put it on incrementally. And I just smeared my reeds down there, so I'm going to go back in and stamp some more right over the top of it like this. And not a problem. Alright, I need to watch out for that area. That area right there, the reason why it's not drying so quickly is because, you know, I've laid down a lot of ink, so when I make an impression over the top that it's fairly thick. I can see that dough's still a little bit wet too, so I gotta be careful about it. Anyways, you can see where this kind of diffusion is kind of taking place. Sorry, I'm kind of doing this. Let me see. I should stamp it right side up. I'll just be careful not to put my finger there. But I can get some little bit of mist back in there, where I've kind of left it light. And we get these oaks in the mist type of effect. Trees in the mist. Alright, let's put some on this hillside in the background. Lift a tiny bit of white in back of that tree. And that's a good place to have some other kind of fog transition. Maybe up here. There's a little bit of a lighter area. Okay. So the way you're kind of opacity, actually it's more translucent ink, and just doing very thin layers. Don't try to rush it and try to get like a big white area. Okay, it's more you're just kind of laying down like a little film of it'd be almost like putting a thin mist of something, you know, like kind of like vellum is. It's translucent. Okay, you don't want pure opacity like this right here. It's too much. Alright, so let's take some of that. And now see, I'm using Colorbox Frost White. It's not a fast drying ink, pigment ink. Okay, it's very slow drying, especially on glossy paper. And that's kind of what you want when you're doing this type of effect. You don't want something that's going to set up too quickly and kind of be hard to control. See, I mean, I laid this down right here, but if I want to, I can just kind of buff it off. And it'll still come off because it's wet. And when it dries, don't worry about it. If you don't like it, just take a paper towel and wipe it right off. It's not gonna, you're not gonna be removing any of the ink that you've already laid down in the background, okay? You're just gonna be taking off the pigment ink, okay? And that being said, if you like what you see in terms of your pigment ink application, set it with something like a clear spray of some sort, like an art spray. And you know, if you're curious about any of that, you can take a look on our website in the information section. There's a techniques FAQ, or there's a materials FAQ, where I go into all the different media, you know, as far as how I use it. I'm not really an expert on all the different media out there, but I just kind of mention how I tend to use these things. Okay, too much ink on there. It's giving me these circular blobs of ink, okay? So, let me just kind of spread that out a little bit more. Okay. So I have a little bit of illumination working in there, and those are that's the diffused look, and I just realized this pen, Uniball Signo White Paint Pen's been open for about a week now. I don't know how I think I was shooting another video and I just forgot to cap it, but anyways, good kind of a selling point for the Uniball Signo pen, and this is not a sales pitch by me, but just going to show you it still kind of works. I'm going to get it flowing a little bit more. Okay. And let's see. Anyways, it's coming out. It's coming out okay. It's kind of fine right now. It's a little bit more fine tip than what it will be in a bit after I use it. But anyways, it's still kind of flowing okay. I'm adding some, to me this would kind of represent white wildflowers growing in the spring or something like that. It could also be illuminated like dew on the grass or something of that sort. Now I would put a little bit of mist right at the base of this deer, but that deer is still wet. And I know if I did it right now, at this time, it would smear, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, let me see. Forgive me. Let me zoom in, especially for these little highlights like that. Okay, and going in the background, this can really kind of liven up some of these areas back here. I love a field of wildflowers. They're so short-lived, but man, if you can kind of catch them at the right time, out in the deserts or wherever they might grow. Okay. Why not? This is a pink pen. Let's put a few little pink wildflowers growing on the hillside. I think purple would be even better, but I don't think I have one purple pen. Kind of out here, when I put the pink over the green, it's a little bit more subtle because the value is about the same. It's a huge change, you know, from pink to green, but like I said, the value of it is fairly similar. You know, this pink isn't really super light, so yeah, it kind of blends in the background. Then kind of if you kind of hold it up in the light, it's like, oh, there's little pink flowers in there too. Alright, so let me see if this will focus. There we go. See those little pink ones here and there? Out the hillside. See how I've clustered them? Okay. So it's kind of a lively little piece. I kind of like that look. And why not one more? This is green, and I can't see it at all actually. That's a dark green on dark green. I need more of like a pastel green on green, so anyway, alright. Oaks in the Mist scene. Let's see, it's a little bit glary there, huh? But light, darker, darkest, transition of dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, for variation in value, and the diffusion of imagery with kind of a soft translucency, you know, from the color box white pigment ink, and then some nice crisp little effects using your white paint pen. Actually, it's not that one. That's the old Uniball Signo pen. This one's kind of a little bit of a newer one. Okay. And anyways, hope you enjoyed the scene, and if you have any questions, just drop us a note. Thanks for watching.